Hi, everybody. It's Elektra Yao, artist visa lawyer, located here in New York City in the heart of the arts world. I haven't gone live the last couple of days, so I figured that I would do something that I think will provide you with a lot of value. What we're going to do today is instead of me going over kind of, case wins or going over aspects of the case, I thought that I would go over I think it's a really nifty O-1 visa checklist. And this is like a really great way to start thinking about your case in a preliminary but concrete way. This allows you to kind of get your ducks in a row and um, to get your ducks in a row and to just make sure that everything is properly done. I think that I'm having a little bit of connectivity issues, but if you can see my checklist, or if you can't see my checklist, those of you on TikTok and on Instagram, you won't be able to see the checklist. Just email me and I'll be happy to provide it for you. So I've kind of divided the checklist into like a couple of different macro categories within the O-1. And the first macro category would be the biographical information. So the biographical information, it is literally exactly what I'm saying. It's your biographical data. So it's a copy of your passport, a copy of your current visa. It's a copy of any previously held visas. This is really important for those of you who've had previous J1s. If you've had a J1 and you've been subject to the 2-year residency requirement, it is really, really important for you to make sure that you double check what's going on with your case with an attorney, because there could be some issues that prevent you from changing status from within the US. So, as I said, a copy of your passport, a copy of your current visa, a copy of your previously held visa. These are things that you should have handy when you're starting to think about the O-1 or any visa type. So, for example, the passport issue, if you have a passport that's about to expire, this is something that you want to kind of start to think about, start to double check, like how long do passports take in my country to process? If I'm currently in the US, what are the rules for my consulate? Because you want to make sure that something like a biographical issue is not an impediment to you successfully applying for the O-1. And obviously, if you have any sort of EAD card, which is going to denote your valid working time in the US, make sure that you have a copy of that front and back. The CV is actually a really important aspect of your case. Your CV is something that really allows us to see what you've done in your career. And I would say 9 times out of 10, my clients do not include everything within their CV. So the CV should be like a comprehensive overview of what you've done. It is not, I would strongly recommend, it is not up to you to self screen. It is absolutely not up to you to start to pick and choose what you think is relevant or not relevant for a case. I'll give you a perfect example. I had a strategy session. So a strategy session is a 30-minute conversation with me where we kind of really go in depth, because I know that there's everything that's written in the CV is maybe about 25% of what is actually done in a client's career. So I did a strategy session with this client, very, very worried about her O-1, very, very worried about possibly qualifying. And she just very casually mentioned that she has served as an archaeologist for different excavation sites in Europe. Now, this is someone who is an art historian, somebody who's an art advisor, an art consultant, and did not include this in her CV. And most importantly, failed to really understand the nexus or the connection between her excavation achievements and her expertise as a current art historian. So, or art consultant. So basically, in college, if you go and you study like a basic art history class, you are really studying the artistic artifacts that have been found in prehistoric times. So it is literally the foundation of art history. And this was something that she just failed to mention, failed to include in her CV. And through the questioning and the prodding and the interrogating, I got this information out of her, and I was able to assuage her fears and create the bridge for her and show her, yes, this is absolutely relevant for your potential O-1B case. This is absolutely evidence that I can include within your petition. So again, the CV, for those of you who are watching me on Facebook, who are watching me on LinkedIn, on YouTube, really should be very comprehensive. Comprehensive basically means include international work, US based work, project work, contract work, events, anything that you have done that is relevant to your career. And even if you don't think it's relevant to your career, just put it in there so that I am able to analyze. So I'm able to look at it and say, you know what, this is something that I think is really good, or this is something that I think we can further develop, or I can create the bridge between what you're doing now and what you did in the past. Oftentimes, when you're working on your CV, a lot of my clients, or a lot of clients in general, will just discount everything that they've done back home as if the only relevant work that they've done is work in the US. And that is absolutely not true. I work on hundreds of clients who've never stepped foot in the US before applying for the O-1. So I work with many, many people who've never done any work in the US, and I get them approved. So do not discount your international work, your project-based work, your freelance work, event-based work. Don't discount it. Just kind of dump it all in your CV, because the process of the CV should really be knowledge transfer, right? You should be dumping everything into that document, and that document should be transferred to the attorney, who is then going to analyze the different work that you've done. So yes, when I say CV, I mean a really comprehensive discussion, or even bullets. Like if you're not the type of person that's very organized, or you're not very wordy, you don't like to type, just put bullets. I can definitely analyze and see what's going on between the lines. So your agent. So this is really technical. This has to do with how you want to file your case. There's two modalities to file. You can file an employer-based case, so you're stuck with your employer, or you can file an agent-based case. So start to think about what the implications of both of those modalities are and what you're most comfortable with. What I always tell clients is, if you're going to go through the hassle, and it is a hassle, unfortunately, today I had a portfolio review with a major influencer. I mean, she's got a fabulous portfolio that I created for her, because we have the option of creating the portfolios for our clients. And it's a lot of work. I mean, we had to comb through social media for her behind the scenes, all of her red carpet appearances. I mean, it's a lot of work to include in a comprehensive petition. Right? If you're going to undergo all the legal fees, all the meetings with the attorneys, the stress, you really want to make sure that you're getting like the biggest bang for your buck, right? You really want to make sure that you're utilizing this visa to the best of your ability. And I always say this visa is a visa for those who are entrepreneurial at heart, because you're investing so much time, energy, and money. You really want to make sure that once you get that approval, that you are not limited within the scope of your work. So I think last week I went live and I talked about, why is the O-1 such a great visa? It's because the O-1 represents freedom. If you want to be free within your career, obviously free within the bounds, I can't file you as an actor and then you get approved and you're like, hey, I want to be a event planner. I mean, it doesn't work that way. But within the scope of performing, or the scope of event planning, you really want to make sure that you're free to kind of navigate within your career and accept legally different sorts of professional opportunities. And the way to do that is to file an agent-based petition. Maybe I'll do a video later on what an agent is, the different roles and responsibilities, etc. But this is just my checklist is kind of a very concrete way to hit the ground running. So another thing on our checklist is the O-1 intake form. So when you become a client, we have different intake forms, different ways to kind of get the data out of you so that we can start to do the legal work. We do it in a very organized, comprehensive way that can be available to you and your agent. I can share it with a bunch of different people who are associated with the petition, if that's what you want. Future employment. So you you got to work. I mean, this is something I know that is very hard to understand conceptually, but you're not going to get approved for the O-1 if you don't have different work waiting for you, because the basis of the O-1 is future work. You would not need a work visa if you are not in demand for work. So I think it's really, really important when you're thinking about the O-1 to really think about it. Again, you guys are artists, to think about it like very high concept, very high brow. Like, you need to be very proactive, because I can create the most beautiful portfolio that really illustrates your expertise, but if I do not have future work opportunities to draft for you, then there's no way I can file a case in good faith. No attorney can. If there is no future work, there's no way that an O-1 petition can be filed, or any other work visa. There is no way. You'll get a denial. So you need to really start thinking about, what work do I want to do? Who do I want to work with? What companies do I want to work with? What private individuals do I want to work with? What international companies I want to work with? Because all of that mix can be included within your petition. Absolutely permissible by law. Maybe one of these days I'll do a live on what is future work, what is counted as future work, because this is something that is a little bit hard for some for people to understand, because again, work within the O-1 world is kind of different than work within the non-O-1 world. So your immigration forms. So the immigration forms are the technical application, right? Everything else, the portfolio, the contracts, all of that is evidentiary support, because all of the information should be properly encapsulated within the immigration forms. So there's one immigration form for all work visas. You want to make sure that it's properly filled out. You also want to make sure that the salient parts, the most important parts, such as your professional title, are properly documented, right? So you don't want to, call yourself a photographer if you intend on doing photography and filmmaking. You want to be really cognizant of the way that you're characterized within your immigration forms, and of course within the legal brief that is submitted. So again, this is something that is very strategic, but also simultaneously very, very technical. Again, you don't want to be filed as a photographer if you plan on doing photography work and filmmaking work. Now, a follow-up question I always get is it possible to file multiple professional titles? Absolutely. I file multiple professional titles that are related, and I've done professional titles that are unrelated, i.e., I filed a successful petition for someone that we called a performer, so a straight up performer on stage, and a photographer, straight up photographer, literally taking pictures and headshots, legally approved to do both. So is it possible? Yes. It depends on your petition, whether or not it will be successful, depends on what we're arguing. But yes, it is possible to have multiple professional titles within an O-1 petition. So legal strategy. So this is something I think that really sets me apart from other law firms, is once you become a client, one of the first things that we do is we need to really start to establish what our legal arguments are going to be. In order to establish the legal arguments, I really need to collaborate with you and really understand, what's your niche? Do you have a niche? Is it a niche that can be further developed? This idea of a niche is very, very important, because oftentimes my clients will carry it through into the EB-1A. Most of my clients want to file for an EB-1A, so want to file for a green card, and having that linear description of what their niche is and the growth upon the evidence of a niche is actually really important. So one of the things that we do at the beginning is we have a 1-hour strategy session. This is literally a meeting between me and you, or me and the client, to decide what are the legal arguments that I'm going to articulate within the brief. So your press, you need to, it's not that you need to, it's important to really prepare your case in the strongest way possible. And to prepare your case in the strongest way possible, you want to knock out the different requirements, right? So you want to make sure that you can knock out as many as you can. The minimum is 3, but with the O-1, just like in real life, you don't want to give the bare minimum. So we tend to file with at least 4 criteria. Sometimes you can file with 5. It really just depends on how I am articulating my legal arguments. But 3 is the bare minimum. Just like you don't want to do the bare minimum in life, you don't want to do the bare minimum for your O-1. This is your life. This is your livelihood. This is your career. You want to try to make sure that you're including as many relevant, strong arguments as possible. So a lot of the times, clients will say, well, do I really need press? Well, no, you don't really need press. Is it advisable to get press to strengthen your career and to strengthen your O-1 petition? Absolutely, because you want to try to knock out as many of the criteria as possible. So your portfolio. So the portfolio is the ensemble of curated documents. I don't have a portfolio on my desk. It's in my other office. But the portfolio is really important. Today I had 2 portfolio reviews. One client had a 12-page portfolio, so deficient. And another client, I'm the one who created her portfolio. It was almost 300 pages, and I'm still going to be adding on to it. So again, this is not about, the most pages, the stronger their portfolio, because I have a theory on that. It's not the most pages. It can actually be really scary for an officer to read a lot of pages. But once you've got like a really beautiful portfolio with a storyline that is properly articulated, then it becomes easy and easily digestible for the officer. If you've got a really short portfolio, that means that you don't have a lot to say. So you don't want to be a 12-page portfolio. Even for my, I've done many Emmy Award winners, I've done many national award winners, I'm still not submitting a 12-page portfolio. You really don't want to insult the intelligence of the officer. You want to make sure that you're creating like a really strong storyline for him or her to follow. You want to respect the officer. So again, with our firm, you have 2 portfolio reviews. So you and I are meeting twice to go over the portfolio together. I give you a comprehensive checklist where I explain to you my theory on objective data versus subjective data. Objective is anything that I can find online, and subjective data is something that is unique and personal to you that I cannot source. I can give you the indications on where to look, but I can't source that for you because that's coming from your personal documents. But it's really important to have that strong fusion of the objective versus subjective, and make sure that you have both combined to articulate a really strong storyline, a really strong arc, how can you say it? I really believe in this aspect of storytelling. This is what, and I've worked on clients who are super famous and clients who are literally just off their OPT and maybe just did one job. And I apply the same principle of organization and storytelling. And I assist you and I guide you by having 2 portfolio reviews with you. So we look at it digitally before we meet, then we meet at one time, then we meet a second time. And this is whether or not you choose to do the portfolio on your own or you have me do the portfolio for you. So the advisory opinion. The advisory opinion is a technical document. It is a requirement for the O-1. Now, there are 2 ways of going about it. You go to the advisory opinion that governs your profession, or we use expert letters, consultations from experts in the field. So this is absolutely a requirement for the petition. This is something that you don't necessarily need to think about because this is going to be dictated by your future contracts. So whatever your future contracts are, that is going to determine which union I go to. So for example, if you're a theater performer and you only have theater contracts, of course, I'm not going to SAG. I'm going to the appropriate theater labor union for you. So this is my O-1 checklist. I thought that it would be important to kind of give you like a step-by-step to help you guys understand that you can absolutely hit the ground running. Whether you're looking at your O-1 today to file it today, or you're looking at filing it in the next year or 2, absent any changes in the law, this checklist is absolutely valid and it's free to you. All you need to do is email me, or you can go to my website and just download it. And I think that once you book a consultation, I think we give it to you as well. So this is a document to help you hit the ground running. I have many people who follow my videos and try to, piece together the different aspects of the O-1 before they come on to working with a firm. So again, this is free to you. Email me or email anybody in the firm, and we will be happy to send it to you. I think that this was a better use of our time today. I can talk to you about approvals if you want. I can talk to you, maybe tomorrow I'll talk to you about a product designer approved in 2 days at the California Service Center, which is a really difficult service center But I'll try to mix it in with approvals and RFEs that we win, and also really practical tips. I really like to give like 5 tips on how to strengthen the portfolio, 5 tips on how to seek out work. All of these things I will try to do during the week. I can't give you a specific time, but as you can see right now, I'm in my office. We're finalizing a couple of cases before the end of the day. So I will see you tomorrow. I will try to go live earlier in the morning, and I will try to concentrate on something that is, I think, a technical requirement, but also really interesting for you to start thinking about, such as future work. What does future work mean? Why is future work relevant for a work visa? Why is future work relevant for an artist visa, since artists don't work in a traditional sense? This is something that we can discuss tomorrow, and I think that will be really helpful on your O-1 journey. Thank you so much for watching on TikTok, on Instagram, on Facebook, and YouTube. And I will see you tomorrow. Bye, everybody.